She mocked the human for trying to pull the sword. Her reaction when he did was priceless. Commander Justin Steele stepped out of the sleek interstellar shuttle onto the crystalline surface of Lumeria Prime, his black combat armor gleaming under the planet's twin suns. The alien world's purple sky stretched endlessly above him, dotted with floating islands covered in luminescent vegetation. His mission was simple: investigate ancient ruins recently discovered in the planet's northern hemisphere. "Welcome to my homeworld, Commander," purred a melodious voice beside him. "I trust you'll find it fascinating." Justin turned to face his assigned guide, Argana Silverweave, a Lumerian female whose pale silver skin seemed to shimmer in the ethereal light. Her white hair, tied in a high ponytail, swayed gently in the warm breeze. The tight-fitting black bodysuit she wore left little to the imagination, though Justin maintained his professional demeanor. "Let's focus on the mission, Agent Silverweave," he replied gruffly, adjusting his tactical gear. "The ruins are our priority." Argana's lips curved into a knowing smile. "Of course, Commander, though I must say your human directness is quite refreshing." She gestured toward a path leading into a dense forest of crystal trees. "The site is this way. Mind your step. The terrain can be treacherous." As they made their way through the otherworldly landscape, Justin couldn't help but notice how Argana moved with feline grace, her hips swaying hypnotically. He forced himself to focus on their surroundings instead, scanning for potential threats with practiced efficiency. "The ruins were discovered during a routine geological survey," Argana explained, ducking under a low-hanging branch dripping with luminous sap. "Our scientists believe they're at least 10,000 years old, predating our earliest recorded history. And the Alliance is interested because—" Justin left the question hanging. "Because, my dear Commander," Argana's voice took on a playful tone, "we found evidence of human presence there, which should be impossible given that your species hadn't achieved spaceflight when these ruins were built." Justin stopped in his tracks. "That doesn't make any sense." "Oh, but it does." Argana's eyes sparkled with amusement. "You humans are full of surprises. Perhaps that's why I find your species so intriguing." Before Justin could respond, they emerged into a massive clearing. Ancient stone structures rose before them, their surfaces covered in strange symbols that seemed to pulse with an inner light. But what caught Justin's attention was the central courtyard, where a gleaming sword stood embedded in a block of crystal. "Ah, the main attraction," Argana said, approaching the sword. "Every Lumerian warrior for the past millennium has tried to pull it free. Even our most advanced technology can't dislodge it." She turned to Justin with a mischievous grin. "Care to try your luck, Commander?" Justin studied the weapon. Its hilt was adorned with intricate patterns that reminded him of ancient Earth designs, while the blade itself appeared to be made of some unknown metal that caught and reflected light in impossible ways. "Why not?" he shrugged, stepping forward. Argana's laughter tinkled like crystal wind chimes. "Oh, you humans and your boundless confidence. Even our strongest warriors couldn't budge it. What makes you think you can succeed where they failed?" Justin ignored her teasing, focusing instead on the sword. As he wrapped his hand around the hilt, something extraordinary happened. The weapon began to glow with an intense white light, and golden particles of energy swirled around him like a miniature galaxy. Argana's laughter died in her throat as Justin effortlessly pulled the sword free, its blade singing through the air like a tuning fork struck by lightning. That's impossible," she whispered, her silver eyes wide with astonishment. Justin examined the blade, which continued to pulse with energy. Apparently not. The golden energy surrounding the sword gradually subsided, but the impact of Justin's achievement rippled through the ruins like shockwaves. Argana's initial shock transformed into intense curiosity as she circled him, her silver eyes glinting with newfound interest. Well, Commander," she purred, stopping uncomfortably close to him. "It seems you're full of surprises. Do you have any idea what you've just done?" Before Justin could respond, his tactical visor lit up with multiple incoming signals. "We've got company," he growled, instinctively stepping in front of Argana. "Oh, a lot of company." "The extraction beacon," Argana muttered, her playful demeanor vanishing. "The ruins must have sent out a signal when you pulled the sword. Every major power in the sector will be scrambling to claim it, and you." Justin's combat training kicked in as he assessed their situation. "How many ways out of here?" "They're at you three," Argana replied, pressing herself against his back as she surveyed their surroundings. The contact sent an electric current through his spine, but he maintained his focus. "The main entrance we came through, an underground passage system, and..." She glanced upward. "The aerial route, though that's suicide without proper equipment." The sound of approaching vessels filled the air. Justin made his decision. "Underground, now!" Argana grabbed his free hand, her fingers intertwining with his. "This way, Commander, and do try to keep up." They sprinted across the courtyard, their footsteps echoing off ancient stones. Argana led them to what appeared to be a solid wall, pressed her palm against it, and whispered something in her native tongue. The wall shimmered and dissolved, revealing a narrow passage. "Ladies first," Justin gestured with the sword. Argana's lips curved into a seductive smile. "Such a gentleman, even when running for our lives." They ducked into the passage just as the first ships appeared overhead. The wall rematerialized behind them, plunging them into darkness broken only by the sword's faint glow and the bioluminescent markings on Argana's skin. "These tunnels run for miles under the surface," Argana explained as they moved swiftly through the labyrinth. "They were built by my ancestors as escape routes during the Great War." "The same ancestors who apparently knew humans?" Justin asked, trying not to focus on how the tight space forced them to brush against each other constantly. "Perhaps." Argana's voice took on a husky quality. "Though I'm beginning to understand their fascination with your species." Justin felt heat rise to his face, grateful for the dim lighting. "Focus, Agent Silverweave. Who exactly are we running from?" "Everyone," she replied with a dark chuckle. "The Crimson Syndicate, the Stellar Consortium, the Military Council, they'll all want what you can do. That sword has been studied by our finest scholars for centuries. The fact that a human could simply walk up and claim it..." She shivered. "Let's just say it raises some interesting questions about your species." They emerged into a larger chamber, its walls covered in the same pulsing symbols they'd seen above. Argana pulled Justin behind a pillar as voices echoed from a nearby tunnel. "Mercenaries," she whispered, her breath hot against his ear. "They're already in the system." Justin tried to ignore how her body pressed against his in their hiding spot, her curves fitting perfectly against his armor. "We need transportation and a safe house." "I know a place," Argana murmured, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest plate. "But you'll have to trust me completely, Commander." "Do I have a choice?" "There's always a choice." Her silver eyes locked with his. "That's what makes you human so fascinating. You always choose to face impossible odds head-on." The voices grew closer. Justin made another quick decision, but this time it had nothing to do with tactical advantage. He cupped Argana's face with his free hand and pressed his lips to hers. She responded immediately, her body melting against his as she deepened the kiss. The sword in his other hand pulsed brighter, casting their shadows against the ancient walls. When they finally broke apart, Argana's eyes were glowing with an inner fire. "Well," she breathed, "that was unexpected." "Tactical distraction," Justin said with a roguish grin. "Liar," she laughed softly, running a finger along his jaw. "But we'll discuss your tactical choices later. Right now, we need to move." They slipped us through the shadows as the mercenaries passed their hiding spot, Argana leading them deeper into the maze of tunnels. Justin noticed she hadn't let go of his hand, and he found himself not minding at all. "My private shuttle is hidden in a cavern about 2 miles from here," she explained as they ran. "It's equipped with stealth technology and enough supplies for several days." "And this safe house you mentioned?" "An old family estate in the Crystal Mountains. It's off all official records and protected by ancient security systems." She glanced back at him with a mischievous smile. "Very private." "Agent Silverweave, are you suggesting something unprofessional?" "Please call me Argana, and I'm suggesting we hide somewhere comfortable while figuring out why that sword chose you." Her voice dropped to a seductive whisper. "The fact that it's private is just a bonus." They reached another chamber, this one filled with ancient machinery. Argana quickly moved to a control panel, her fingers dancing over the symbols. "This will buy us some time," she said, activating a sequence. The ground trembled as hidden mechanisms whirred to life. "I'm sealing off sections of the tunnel system. It won't stop them forever, but it should." She was cut off by an explosion that rocked the chamber. Justin pulled her behind a console, as energy bolts sizzled through the air where she'd been standing. "Crimson Syndicate," she hissed, drawing a sleek energy pistol from her thigh holster. "They always were quick." Justin raised the sword, which hummed with power. "Any idea if this thing does more than glow?" "Only one way to find out," Organa replied, returning fire at their attackers. "Care to experiment, Commander?" Justin stepped out from cover, acting on pure instinct. As energy bolts streaked toward him, the sword moved of its own accord, deflecting them back at their sources. The Syndicate troops scattered, cursing in various alien languages. "Now that's interesting," Organa remarked, picking off targets with precise shots. "The sword responds to your neural patterns. It's like it's part of you." "Less analysis, more running," Justin called back, deflecting another barrage. "Where's that exit?" Organa pointed to a narrow passage partially hidden behind fallen debris. "Through there. It leads directly to the cavern where my shuttle's docked." She paused and then added with a sultry smile, "Try to keep up, Commander. I'd hate to reach safety without you." They fought their way across the chamber, Justin's impossible swordsmanship and Organa's deadly accuracy creating a path through their attackers. As they reached the passage, Organa triggered one final sequence on the control panel. "That should collapse the entire chamber behind us," she said as they ran. "But we're not safe yet. The Syndicate is just the beginning. Once word spreads about what you did, every power in the galaxy will be hunting us." "Us?" Justin raised an eyebrow. Organa's laugh echoed through the tunnel. "No, well, I can hardly let you face this alone. Besides," she glanced back at him with a heated look, "I have a personal interest in unraveling your mysteries, Commander Steele." They emerged into a vast cavern where a sleek black shuttle waited. As they sprinted toward it, Justin realized their adventure was just beginning. And so was whatever was developing between him and his alluring alien guide. The sleek black shuttle cut through Lumaria's purple atmosphere, its stealth systems engaged as Organa expertly piloted through the treacherous crystal forest. Massive crystalline trees rose like frozen lightning bolts from the ground, their translucent branches refracting the light of the twin suns into rainbow cascades. "We've got company," Justin announced from the co-pilot's seat, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "3 consortium vessels and is that a dreadnought?" Organa's silver lips curved into a predatory smile. "The military council's finest. They must really want that sword." She banked the shuttle sharply, weaving between crystal spires. "Good thing they don't know these forests like I do." The sword, secured in a magnetic holder between them, pulsed with energy that seemed to synchronize with Justin's heartbeat. He found himself increasingly aware of its presence, as if it were becoming an extension of his consciousness. "The crystals interfere with their tracking systems," Organa explained, her fingers dancing across the controls. "But they also play havoc with our navigation. We'll have to fly manually through the prismatic canyon." "The what now?" "A natural maze of crystal formations that amplify and redirect energy signatures." She shot him a mischievous glance. "Most pilots consider it suicide to enter. Fortunately, I'm not most pilots." The shuttle dove into a narrow ravine, crystal walls rising hundreds of feet on either side. The pursuing ships followed, energy weapons charging. "They're not giving up easily," Justin observed, admiring how Organa's face lit up with concentration and excitement. "Would you," she replied, executing a perfect barrel roll to avoid a crystal outcropping. "A human wielding an ancient Lumerian artifact that's been stuck in stone for millennia? The implications alone are worth starting a war over." A blast from the dreadnought struck nearby, sending crystalline shrapnel flying. The shuttle's shields flared but held. "Speaking of implications," Justin said, reaching for the sword as inspiration struck, "I have an idea. Can you get us closer to those larger formations?" Organa's eyes widened as she caught his meaning. "Oh, you wonderful, crazy human. You once used the sword's energy signature to trigger a cascade reaction in the crystal matrix? Is that possible? Theoretically, the crystals are semi-sentient, responding to certain energy frequencies." She guided the shuttle toward a massive crystal cluster. "But it's never been tested. We could end up vaporizing ourselves." "Story of my life?" Justin grinned, unstrapping himself. "Get me close enough to one of the major nodes. I'll handle the rest." "Commander," Organa's voice turned sultry despite the danger, "your confidence is incredibly attractive right now." Justin moved to the shuttle side hatch, sword in hand. Save the flirting for when we're not about to die. Where's the fun in that? Argana laughed, bringing the shuttle to hover near a towering crystal spire. Ready when you are, my bold human. The hatch opened, and Justin found himself staring into a kaleidoscope of refracted light. The pursuing ships were closing fast, their weapons charging for another volley. Remember, Argana called out, the crystals respond to emotional energy as much as physical. Feel it, don't force it. Justin raised the sword, letting his instincts guide him. The weapon's glow intensified, resonating with the surrounding crystal matrix. He felt a connection forming, similar to what he'd experienced in the ruins, but amplified thousandfold. That's it, Argana breathed, her voice filled with wonder. The crystals are responding to you both. The sword's energy reached out, touching the nearest crystal formation. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Golden light raced through the crystalline network like lightning through a neural web, creating a chain reaction that spread in all directions. Hold on, Argana shouted, pulling the shuttle away as the crystal maze began to shift and transform. Massive shards broke free, creating a deadly ballet of crystalline projectiles. The pursuing ships scattered, their formations breaking as they tried to avoid the chaos. The dreadnought, too large to maneuver effectively, took multiple hits from crystal fragments the size of small buildings. Justin stumbled back into the shuttle as Argana sealed the hatch. Did it work? See for yourself, she replied, gesturing at the view screen. The entire crystal forest had come alive, its structure completely rearranged. Where there had been a clear pursuit route, now stood an impenetrable maze of shifting crystal formations. The pursuing ships were forced to retreat or risk destruction. Impossible, Argana whispered, her silver eyes wide with amazement. The crystals have never responded like this before. It's as if they recognized you, or rather, recognized what you represent. And what's that? Justin asked, returning to his seat. Argana's gaze turned intense as she studied him. Hope, change, the return of something long lost to my people. She reached out, her fingers trailing along his jaw. You continue to surprise me, Commander Steele. Just when I think I have you figured out, you do something unprecedented. Keeping you on your toes, Agent Silverweave? Among other things, she purred, leaning closer. We should be safe for now. The crystal reconfiguration will take hours to stabilize, and I know a secluded landing site nearby where we can, recover. The way she said recover made Justin's pulse quicken. We should use the time to plan our next move. Oh, I have several moves in mind, Argana replied with a seductive smile. But you're right, we need to understand what's happening. The sword's reaction to the crystals suggests a deeper connection between humans and Lemuria than anyone suspected. She guided the shuttle through a narrow opening in the crystal formations, descending toward a hidden valley. As they landed, Justin noticed the sword's glow had dimmed to a gentle pulse that matched both his and Argana's heartbeats. The valley is shielded from scanners, Argana explained as she powered down the engines. We should be safe here while we figure out our next step. She turned to face him fully, her expression both playful and serious, and perhaps explore some other matters that seem to be developing between us. Before Justin could respond, the sword's pulse suddenly intensified. Images flooded his mind. Ancient battles, humans and Lemurians fighting side by side, the sword being forged in crystal fire, a prophecy written in light. Justin! Argana's concerned voice brought him back to the present. She had moved closer, her hand on his chest. What did you see? I'm not sure, he replied, still processing the vision. But I think the sword is trying to tell us something about the true history between our peoples. Then we should listen, Argana said softly, her fingers intertwining with his. Together. The hidden valley provided a momentary sanctuary, its crystalline walls creating a natural dome that shimmered with refracted starlight. Inside their shuttle, Justin and Argana sat close together, studying the sword's pulsing energy patterns while monitoring their pursuers' movements on the tactical display. The military council's forces are spreading out in a search pattern, Argana observed, her silver fingers dancing across the holographic interface. They're deploying crystal stalkers. Should I be worried? Justin asked, noticing how the sword's glow intensified at the mention of these special forces. Very, Argana's expression turned serious. They're elite commandos, genetically enhanced to manipulate crystal energies. They can use the forest itself as a weapon. A sly smile crossed her face. though I doubt they've ever faced anything quite like you." The sword hummed in agreement, its golden energy synchronizing with both their heartbeats. Justin had noticed this phenomenon growing stronger, creating an almost tangible connection between them. "The crystal manipulation you demonstrated earlier?" Argana continued, shifting closer until their shoulders touched. "It shouldn't have been possible. Even our most gifted crystal stalkers can't affect the forest on that scale." Maybe it's not about power," Justin suggested, increasingly aware of her proximity. "The sword doesn't feel like it's forcing anything. It's more like a conversation." "A conversation?" Argana's eyes sparkled with interest. "With the crystals? With everything?" Justin struggled to put the sensation into words. "The sword, the crystals, even..." He hesitated, meeting her gaze. "Even you." The air between them crackled with unspoken tension. Argana reached out, her fingers brushing against his hand where it gripped the sword's hilt. The contact sent a surge of energy through them both, and the weapon's glow painted their faces in shifting patterns of gold and silver. "I feel it too," she whispered, her voice taking on a husky quality. "It's like the sword is completing a circuit between us, revealing something that was always meant to be." A warning chime from the tactical display interrupted the moment. Crystal formations at the valley's edge were shifting, responding to external manipulation. "They're getting closer," Justin said, reluctantly focusing on the threat. "Then we should make the most of our time," Argana replied, her tone carrying multiple layers of meaning. She stood, pulling him up with her. There's something I want to show you." She led him to the shuttle's rear compartment, which had transformed into a comfortable living space. The walls rippled with crystalline patterns that mimicked the forest outside, creating an intimate atmosphere. "Lumerian ships adapt to their occupants' needs," she explained, noting his surprise. "And right now..." She stepped closer, eliminating the space between them. "Right now, we need to understand what's happening between us." The sword's energy surged as their lips met, creating a cascade of sensations that went beyond the physical. Images flowed between them, ancient memories of humans and Lumerians united, the forging of bonds that transcended species. The sword serving as a bridge between worlds. Their connection deepened, both emotional and physical barriers dissolving as they explored this new dimension of their relationship. The sword's energy enveloped them in a cocoon of golden light, turning their intimate encounter into something almost mystical. Time lost meaning as they discovered each other, their union echoing with significance beyond mere physical attraction. The sword's power amplified every sensation, creating a feedback loop of shared emotions and memories that bound them together on multiple levels. Afterward, they lay entwined, the sword's gentle pulse matching their synchronized heartbeats. The crystalline walls around them had responded to their passion, creating intricate patterns that seemed to tell ancient stories. "Well," Argana murmured, tracing patterns on Justin's chest, "that was definitely not in any official protocol I've ever read." Justin chuckled, running his fingers through her silver hair. "I'm pretty sure we just violated about a dozen regulations." "Worth it," she replied with a satisfied smile. "Though I suspect we did more than just break rules." The sword's reaction, "I've never seen anything like it. It felt like..." Justin searched for the right words. "Like we were completing something that started centuries ago." Argana propped herself up on an elbow, her expression thoughtful. "The ancient texts speak of bonds between humans and Lumerians, connections that went beyond mere alliance. But those records were always dismissed as myths." Before Justin could respond, the tactical display erupted with warnings. The crystal stalkers had found them. They moved with practiced efficiency, donning their gear as the shuttle's walls reverted to their normal configuration. Through the view screen, they could see crystalline formations shifting and growing, guided by the elite commando's powers. "6 of them," Argana reported, checking her weapons. "They're trying to trap us in a crystal cage." Justin lifted the sword, which blazed with renewed energy. "Not going to happen." "No," Argana agreed, moving to his side. "We're stronger together. The sword proved that." She gave him a quick, fierce kiss. "Ready to show these crystal stalkers what real power looks like?" "After you, my deadly beauty." They emerged from the shuttle into a landscape being actively reshaped by their pursuers. Crystal spires rose and fell like waves, their surfaces glowing with manipulated energy. The crystal stalkers, clad in armor that seemed to merge with the forest itself, moved with inhuman grace through their transformed environment. But they hadn't counted on the sword's power or the newly forged bond between Justin and Argana. The crystal stalkers moved like liquid mercury through the crystalline terrain, their enhanced abilities allowing them to bend and shape the forest to their will. But Justin and Argana stood their ground, the sword pulsing with newfound power, born from their deepened connection. "Remember," Argana whispered, her back pressed against Justin's. "They're trained to work as a unit. Their crystal manipulation is based on rigid military protocols." Justin smiled, feeling the sword's energy flow between them. "Good thing we're making this up as we go along." The first crystal stalker attacked, sending a wave of crystalline spears hurtling toward them. Justin raised the sword instinctively, but instead of merely deflecting the attack, the weapon channeled the energy through both him and Argana. The crystals dissolved into golden light that swirled around them like a protective cocoon. "Impossible," one of the stalkers growled, his voice distorted by his crystal-infused armor. "No human should be able to interface with our technology." "You'd be surprised what humans can do," Argana called out, her energy pistol humming with power that seemed to synchronize with the sword's pulse. "Especially this one." The stalkers attacked in unison, their combined powers creating a crystalline cage that rapidly closed in around Justin and Argana. But the sword's energy had other ideas. Golden light exploded outward, not destroying the crystal formations, but rather transforming them, creating patterns that seemed to resonate with ancient purpose. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. The valley floor began to shift, not from the stalker's manipulation, but from something deeper, more primordial. Crystal formations retracted like opening petals, revealing a hidden structure beneath, a facility of clearly ancient origin. "By the first light," Argana breathed, recognizing the architectural style. "It's a convergence temple." The crystal stalkers halted their attack, equally stunned by the revelation. In their moment of hesitation, Justin felt the sword pulling him toward the temple's entrance. Ancient symbols carved into the crystal walls began to glow in response to their presence. "Fall back!" the lead stalker commanded his squad. "The temple's defense systems are activating." But instead of attacking, the temple's crystals resonated with the same frequency as the sword, creating a harmonious symphony of light and energy. Pathways of golden light formed, leading deeper into the structure. "The temple," Justin realized, "it's not defending against us, it's welcoming us." "Of course," Argana said, her eyes wide with understanding. "The sword wasn't just a weapon, it was a key, and our bond—" She turned to him with a knowing smile. It completed the circuit. The crystal stalkers regrouped, their armor crackling with power. "Surrender the sword and the temple access," their leader demanded, "by order of the military council." Justin and Argana exchanged a glance, their newfound intimacy allowing them to communicate without words. As one, they backed toward the temple entrance, the sword's energy creating a barrier between them and their pursuers. "I don't think so," Justin replied. "Something tells me this temple has been waiting a long time for the right visitors." They crossed the threshold just as the stalkers launched another attack. But the temple had its own ideas. Crystal barriers shot up from the ground, sealing the entrance and cutting off pursuit. The ancient facility hummed to life around them, responding to their presence. "This is incredible," Argana said, studying the activated symbols that lined the corridors. These temples were thought to be myths, places where humans and Lumerians once worked together to achieve things neither species could accomplish alone. Justin felt the sword guiding them deeper into the temple, its energy interacting with their surroundings in increasingly complex ways. "And now we know why the sword chose us. We're proof that cooperation is still possible." They entered a vast central chamber dominated by a crystalline altar. As they approached, holographic images sprang to life, showing scenes from an ancient past. Humans and Lumerians working together, sharing knowledge and resources, achieving wonders that neither species could have managed independently. The sword, Argana realized, it's not just a weapon or a key, it's a symbol of what we lost, what we forgot. The altar began to pulse with the same rhythm as their hearts, creating a resonance that filled the chamber. Justin and Argana found themselves drawn together, their bodies moving in perfect synchronization as the temple's energy merged with their own. Their lips met in a passionate kiss as golden light swirled around them, the sword's power amplifying their connection to heights they hadn't thought possible. The temple responded to their union, revealing more of its secrets with each passing moment. When they finally parted, both breathing heavily, the chamber had transformed. New pathways had opened, and the holographic displays showed different images. Blueprints for crystal technology that combined human intuition with Lumerian expertise. "Well," Argana said, her silver skin flushed with a golden tinge, "I think we just discovered why the military council was so interested in us. They knew about this place. They suspected." She traced the patterns on the altar with practiced fingers. "But they could never access it. The temple needed something they couldn't provide. A genuine bond between our species." The sound of crystal being manipulated echoed from the sealed entrance. The crystal stalkers hadn't given up. "They're trying to break through it," Justin observed, but he felt no fear. The sword's power, combined with their strengthened connection and the temple's energy, made him feel more alive than ever. "Let them try," Argana replied with a predatory smile. "We have something they don't, each other." The ancient temple's central chamber pulsed with crystalline energy as new holographic displays materialized around Justin and Argana. The images showed elaborate ceremonies between humans and Lumerians, their bodies wreathed in golden light similar to what the sword now emanated. "The ritual of eternal convergence," Argana translated, her silver fingers tracing the glowing symbols. "It's not just a ceremony, it's a biological interface protocol. Our ancestors used it to create permanent bonds between chosen pairs from each species." Justin studied the complex patterns forming in the air around them. "And you think this ritual could restore the alliance?" "More than that." Argana turned to him, her eyes shimmering with intensity. "It could prove to everyone that humans and Lumerians are meant to work together, that your ability to wield a sword wasn't a fluke." The sword hummed in agreement, its energy synchronizing with the temple's rhythms. Outside, they could hear the crystal stalkers attempting to breach the barriers, but the sound seemed distant, unimportant compared to the revelation before them. "There's something you're not telling me," Justin observed, noting the slight tension in Argana's posture. She stepped closer, her body fitting perfectly against his. "The ritual is intimate. It requires complete trust, total openness between partners. Our earlier connection would seem superficial compared to what this would create." "You mean when we—" "Yes." A playful smile crossed her face, though that was quite memorable on its own. The holographic displays shifted, showing more details of the ritual. Justin felt his pulse quicken as he understood what it entailed. "This is why you mocked me at first, isn't it? Your people never believed humans could handle this level of connection. Can you blame us?" Argana's fingers traced the line of his jaw. "Most species can barely handle basic diplomatic relations. The idea of sharing consciousness, of binding souls." She shook her head. "But you proved me wrong the moment you pulled that sword from the stone, and you haven't stopped surprising me since." The chamber's crystals began to resonate at a deeper frequency, responding to their growing intimacy. The sword's golden energy wrapped around them like a warm embrace. "The ritual must be completed before the temple's defenses fail," Argana continued, her voice taking on a husky quality. "Once begun, there's no turning back. Our minds, our souls, everything we are, will be laid bare to each other." Justin caught her hand, pressing it against his heart. "I think we're already past the point of no return." Their lips met in a passionate kiss as the temple's energy surged around them. The sword's power amplified every sensation, creating a feedback loop of shared emotions and memories. The ritual chamber activated, surrounding them in a cocoon of golden light. What followed transcended physical intimacy. Their consciousness merged, sharing not just memories, but entire lifetimes of experiences. Justin saw Argana's childhood among the crystal spires, felt her yearning to explore beyond her world's boundaries. She experienced his military training, his secret dreams of finding something more meaningful than combat. The ritual pushed them further, deeper, until the boundaries between human and Lumerian began to blur. Their bodies moved in perfect synchronization as ancient energies coursed through them, reshaping their very beings at a molecular level. Through it all, the sword served as an anchor, its power guiding them through the transformation. What had started as a physical attraction evolved into something far more profound, a joining of souls that fulfilled prophecies written in crystal and light. When the ritual reached its crescendo, the entire temple resonated with their combined energy. The crystal stalkers' attempts to breach the barriers ceased as waves of golden light pulsed outward, carrying with it an undeniable truth. Humans and Lumerians were always meant to be together. They lay entwined on the ritual platform, their bodies glowing with residual energy. Justin could feel Argona's thoughts brushing against his consciousness, their newfound bond humming with potential. "Well," she murmured, tracing patterns on his chest that sent sparkles of golden light dancing across his skin, "I definitely can't mock humans anymore." Justin chuckled, the sound creating ripples in the energy field around them. "No more pulling swords from stones for me. I think I found something better to occupy my time." Speaking of time, Argona sat up, her silver skin now bearing intricate patterns that matched the sword's engravings. "The ritual did more than just bind us. Look." The chamber's holographic displays had changed, showing new information that both of them could now instinctively understand. The sword's true purpose revealed itself. It was meant to be a catalyst for awakening other convergence temples across the galaxy. There are more out there, Justin realized, the knowledge flowing through their bond. Places where other pairs can undergo the ritual, or rebuild the alliance one connection at a time. "The military council won't like that," Argona said with a predatory smile. "It threatens their power structure, their control over crystal technology. Let them try to stop us." Justin stood, helping her up as the sword's energy wrapped around them both. "We've got something they can't comprehend." "Love?" Argona teased, though the emotion flowed strongly through their bond. "That too." He pulled her close, their energies merging once again. "But I was thinking more about how much fun it'll be proving them wrong. After all, you thought a human couldn't pull that sword either." "And I've never been happier to be mistaken." She kissed him deeply, their shared consciousness making the experience exponentially more intense. "Though I think we should test our new bond thoroughly before we take on the military council, just to be sure we've got everything figured out." The sword pulsed in agreement as they came together again, their union now enhanced by their permanent connection. The temple's crystals sang with ancient power, celebrating the return of something long lost to both their peoples. The temple's crystalline walls shimmered with renewed energy as Justin and Argona studied the holographic map of known convergence temples scattered across the galaxy. Their newly forged bond allowed them to process the ancient information with unprecedented clarity, their shared consciousness making complex calculations feel as natural as breathing. "The nearest temple is in the Meridian cluster," Argona observed, her silver fingers dancing through the holographic display. "We could reach it before the military council realizes where we're headed." Justin felt her excitement through their bond, along with something deeper, a fierce determination to right ancient wrongs. "You're not telling me everything about the council, are you?" Before she could respond, the temple's defensive barriers pulsed with warning. Through their connection to the building's systems, they sensed a powerful presence approaching. "Well," a commanding voice echoed through the chamber, "this is certainly more than I expected to find." The temple's entrance dissolved, revealing a tall, distinguished Lumerian male in elaborate military regalia. His crystalline armor seemed to bend light itself, and his presence carried an authority that made even the crystal stalkers bow their heads. "High Commander Theron," Argona breathed, instinctively moving closer to Justin, the head of the military council himself. Justin felt her tension through their bond, along with fragments of memories and ways, classified meetings, secret orders, a conspiracy spanning centuries. "Agent Silverweave," Theron acknowledged, his eyes fixed on the patterns now adorning her silver skin. "I see you've gone far beyond your mission parameters." "The mission was a lie," Argona declared, her hand finding Justin's. "Just like everything else the council taught us about humans." Theron's laugh held no humor. "A lie? We merely preserved order. Imagine the chaos if everyone knew the truth, that humans were our equals, our perfect counterparts in the cosmic dance." His gaze shifted to Justin. "That they could unlock powers we spent millennia trying to control." The sword pulsed with energy, responding to Justin's rising emotions. Through their bond, Argana shared a revelation that made his blood boil. "The council didn't just hide the truth," Justin said, pieces falling into place. "You actively work to prevent humans from reaching their potential. The restrictions on interspecies relations, the propaganda about human inferiority, it was all to prevent more bonds like ours from forming." "For good reason," Theron replied, his armor crystallizing the air around him. "The last time humans and Lumerians truly united, they nearly achieved godhood. The power you hold now, Commander Steele, is nothing compared to what our joined species once wielded." The temple's crystals resonated with ancient memories, showing fleets of ships powered by combined human-Lumerian energy, worlds transformed by their shared vision, achievements that bordered on miraculous. "And you feared that power," Argana accused, her body pressing against Justin's as their energies merged. "So you engineered the split between our species, buried the truth so deep that it became myth." "We preserved order," Theron's composure cracked. "Without the Council's guidance, the combined might of humans and Lumerians would have reshaped reality itself. Some powers are too great for any beings to wield." Justin felt Argana's desire through their bond. Not just physical attraction, but a yearning to prove Theron wrong. He pulled her into a passionate kiss, their shared energy making the temple's crystals sing with possibility. Theron's face contorted with disgust and fear as their display of affection generated waves of golden light. "Enough! I won't allow you to undo centuries of careful management." But something unexpected happened as he moved to attack. The sword's energy connected with his crystal armor, forcing him to witness the truth he'd helped suppress. The joy, the potential, the sheer wonder of human and Lumerian souls in harmony. Justin and Argana's bond flared brighter, their intimate connection amplifying the sword's power. Their consciousness merged completely, moving beyond physical pleasure to a state of perfect unity that the ancient temples were designed to facilitate. The chamber filled with golden light as they demonstrated exactly what Theron feared, the incredible potential of their species working as one. Their shared power easily contained his attacks, turning his own crystal manipulation against him. "You see?" Argana's voice carried the weight of centuries. "This is what you denied our peoples. Not just power, but understanding, completion. The ability to achieve wonders together," Justin added, their thoughts flowing as one. "Not through control or domination, but through trust and love." Theron fell to his knees, his armor cracking as the truth overwhelmed him. "It was never about preventing chaos," he admitted, his voice heavy with shame. "We were afraid of becoming obsolete, of losing our position as the galaxy's supreme power." The sword pulsed one final time, and the temple responded by revealing its last secret, coordinates to every convergence temple in existence, along with the knowledge needed to reactivate them. "The choice is yours, High Commander," Justin and Argana spoke in unison, their merged consciousness giving their words added weight. "Continue fighting the inevitable, or help us restore what was lost." Theron looked up at them, seeing not just two beings, but the future they represented. "The Council will resist. Centuries of doctrine won't be undone easily. Then we'll show them what they've been missing." Argana smiled, sending a wave of pleasure through their bond that made Justin's breath catch. "One temple at a time. Starting with the truth," Justin added, pulling her closer. "About humans, about Lumerians, about everything that's possible when we stop fearing each other's potential." The temple hummed with approval as they sealed their declaration with another passionate kiss, their shared energy promising a future brighter than either species had dared to imagine. The activation of the first convergence temple sent ripples through space-time itself. As Justin and Argana prepared to depart for the Meridian Cluster, with a reluctant High Commander Theron providing clearance codes, something unprecedented occurred. The temple's crystalline structure began resonating at frequencies that hadn't been heard in millennia. "By the ancient stars," Theron breathed, his military composure forgotten. "It's calling to the others." Through their bond, Justin and Argana felt it, a cascade of awakening consciousness as dormant temples across the galaxy stirred to life. The sword pulsed with increasing intensity, its golden energy forming patterns that matched the spreading wave of activation. "The network," Argana realized, her silver skin glowing with excitement. "It's not just individual temples, They're all connected. The holographic displays exploded with new information as ancient systems came online. The temple around them began to transform, revealing its true nature not as a mere building, but as part of something far greater. "It's a key node," Justin said, understanding flowing through their shared consciousness. "The sword didn't just choose us randomly, it brought us to the control center of the entire network." Theron's crystal armor resonated with the changing frequencies. The Council's worst fear: we always suspected the temples were more than individual sites. But this... The chamber's walls became transparent, showing them a view of space itself. Golden lines of force connected distant points of light, other temples awakening, responding to the call of their restored bond. Look, Argana pointed to new data streams appearing in the holographic interface. Other pairs are forming, humans and Lumerians across the galaxy, drawn together by the temple's activation. Justin pulled her close, their bodies fitting together perfectly as waves of joy and desire flowed through their bond. They can't suppress the truth any longer. The temples are showing everyone what's possible. The sword's energy merged with the temple's systems, creating a display of breathtaking beauty. They watched as centuries of artificial barriers between their species began to crumble, replaced by the natural attraction that had always existed. The Council's authority was based on maintaining separation, Theron admitted, watching the transformation with a mix of awe and resignation. With these bonds forming freely, "Your control is finished," Argana completed his thought, her hand tracing patterns on Justin's chest that sent sparks of pleasure through their connection. But something better is taking its place. The temple's energy surged around them as more bonds formed across space, each new connection adding to the growing network of shared consciousness. Justin and Argana's own bond deepened with each passing moment, their love becoming part of the greater pattern. Unable to resist their growing desire, they came together in a passionate embrace. Their union this time transcended even their previous encounters, enhanced by the energy of thousands of awakening temples and newly forming bonds between their species. Theron respectfully withdrew as the chamber responded to their passion, her crystal walls shifting to create a private space that resonated with their shared energy. Their lovemaking became a celebration of everything they'd achieved, the barriers broken, the truth revealed, the future they'd helped create. When they finally emerged, the galaxy had changed. The holographic displays showed hundreds of human Lumerian pairs discovering their potential together, each bond adding to the growing network of shared power and understanding. "It's beautiful," Argana whispered, watching the transformation spread. "Everything we were meant to be, everything they tried to prevent." "And this is just the beginning," Justin replied, feeling the truth of it through their connection. The sword hummed in agreement, its purpose finally fulfilled. The temple's systems revealed one final secret, the original purpose of the network. It wasn't just about power or control, but about evolution itself. Humans and Lumarians were designed to grow together, each species complementing the other in ways that led to greater advancement for both. The sword, Theron realized, watching the data stream past, it wasn't a weapon at all. It was a catalyst waiting for the right pair to trigger the Great Awakening. "And you mocked me for trying to pull it," Justin teased, sending waves of affection through his bond with Argana. She laughed, the sound like crystal chimes. "I'll spend the rest of our lives making up for that mistake." Her eyes sparkled with promise. "Starting now." Their kiss sent new pulses of energy through the temple network, inspiring more pairs to embrace their potential. The age of separation was over, replaced by an era of partnership and shared discovery. In the years that followed, Justin and Argana traveled between the temples, helping other pairs understand their bonds and unlock new possibilities. The sword remained with them, not as a symbol of power, but as a reminder of how one moment of defying expectations had changed everything. The military council evolved into an advisory body, helping guide the natural integration of their species, rather than preventing it. Theron himself became an advocate for the new order, his first-hand experience of their bond's power converting him from skeptic to supporter. But most importantly, the mockery and doubt that had initially greeted Justin's attempt to pull the sword became a celebrated part of their shared story, a reminder that the greatest achievements often come when someone dares to challenge the impossible. As they stood in their original temple years later, watching new pairs discover their bonds, Argana smiled at the memory. "I still can't believe you actually did it. Pulled the sword." Justin drew her closer, their bond humming with contentment. "No," she replied, kissing him deeply. "Made me fall in love with a stubborn human who didn't know when to quit." The sword pulsed one final time, its light merging with the temple's crystal matrix. No longer needed as a catalyst, but forever part of the legacy they'd created together,